Hi everybody, Dr. C here, Dr. Catherine Masitsa coming to you from the studios of the Standard Media Group. And today I want to review the wedding of Jeff Bezos. But before that, I am CEO and founder of Samantha's Bridal, and more recently Samantha Wines, which we launched. And Samantha's Bridal, we help people navigate and truly celebrate life's greatest moments, such as weddings. With over 21 years of distilled wisdom and helping couples celebrate weddings, I feel I can chime in on this, what I call the spectacle. It was a spectacle of Jeff Bezos' wedding in the historic city of Venice. It's a beautiful city. I've been there with my husband. It's beautiful. And if you're a Gen X and you grew up on the Mills and Boons, you knew the romantic wedding or the romantic affair always ended up in the girl being taken to Venice. And I think so that Lauren Sanchez, whom I loved, by the way, I used to follow her before she deleted her YouTube channel. Being a Gen X, I can understand why they went there. Now, for a country like Kenya, that is, are we still in third world? Why should we concern ourselves about the wedding of a billionaire such as Jeff Bezos? I'll tell you why. We need to concern ourselves because increasingly this wedding actually shows the disparities in the world today between the haves and have-nots. And particularly, this is bringing it home to Kenya because we need to be asking ourselves certain questions. We need to be asking ourselves questions such as, yes, we are celebrating all this public consumption, like, you know, people are consuming so publicly, they have so much money, but what kind of money are we celebrating? You know, there are many questions we need to ask ourselves, but I want to say I'm not here to condemn the wedding. I have to say that Jeff Bezos is one of the he's the world's richest man. He can do whatever he wants to do with his money. But we as Kenyans looking at this public spectacle, which all over the world, I'm sure you know about it, we should be learning a couple of things. It should reignite conversations within all the spheres about corporate social responsibility, but also the environment. So let me paint the picture in case you may not have followed. This wedding was valued at about, he spent 50 million, 50 million US dollars on the wedding. And like I said, it was in Venice. The guest list read like Forbes who is who. You know, Oprah Winfrey, the Kardashians, everybody, Hollywood, including Donald Trump's daughter was there. Like everybody who is anyone in the world on the Forbes list was there. The wedding happened at Santa Maria, I forget it, but I know the church because I was in that church. Maggiore, yes, Santa Maria Maggiore. I may get the name wrong, but it's a beautiful, beautiful city. Now, what are the problems of Venice right now? First of all, Venice is sinking. We have very few years to actually enjoy it. It's a city that is sinking. It's a true representation of climate change, okay? Number two, there's over-tourism. There's a problem such as over-tourism. The other day, we saw people in Spain actually rioting. They didn't want tourists. And the problem of over-tourism is such that over-tourism has turned Venice into a sort of a Disneyland. Can you imagine you live in a city where even you cannot afford to live there because the rich people come and buy you out? Everybody's running an Airbnb, so even the locals don't live there. So that is a problem. Now, talking of the environmental impact and this wedding, now, these two stages, the world's richest guy having a wedding and you are having this stage where Venice is, of course, that is a recipe for disaster. And therefore, we also that people were rioting. So I want to just put some context. This is not from me, but it's a context why these people were rioting. Number one, there is the haves and have-nots. You know, the locals, actually the locals of Venice are being outpriced. And why should it concern us even as Kenyans? It should concern us because as we are celebrating all these people who are rich in the world, yeah, we should concern ourselves, are they paying enough tax? Yeah? Is the taxing system fair? But even then, what kind of money should we actually be celebrating? And now I want to bring it home. Very often we are seeing, especially politicians, we elected them yesterday, the next day they are busy celebrating, they're wearing these watches worth 7 million, and we know their salaries. That is a problem. We should be asking questions when we see this public consumption, and especially when you cannot account for where the money is coming from. Now, you might say, because he's the world's richest man, he's entitled to actually spend this money. But we are looking at, there's been reviews about corporate, the way the Amazon employees are being treated. An average Amazon employee is earning something much, much less. So that brings in the questions, even coming back to Kenya here. You're seeing disparities, earning disparities within certain organizations. We are looking at corporate social responsibility, the environment. You can imagine all those jets who landed in Venice, and all the vaporators, they have these vaporator cars. That is an impact on the environment. It is a really, really big impact on the environment. We are also looking at issues such as public versus private spaces. He literally rented this space, the whole of Venice. Now, how do we bring it back to Kenya? You know the land that is being grabbed in Kenya. Just because you've got power, you've got money, you can grab land and build and take up spaces that are actually private. On the other hand, so they say, okay, it was a big bonanza, 50 million being spent in the local economy, but we need also to bring it back home and ask ourselves questions. All these public events that happen, or also the big events that happen, even here in Kenya, do we ever audit them? Can you imagine the whole of Lamu closed down for a big fat wedding? Do we ever? Like, not even just weddings alone. We need to start auditing these events. Do they have impact? Or there are just a few people who actually pocket the money? And even event planners need to be put to question. Recently, there was a big wedding that happened. It costed almost 1 billion Kenya shillings. But a lot of the people performing and doing a lot of things were imported. We should stop these kind of things. Can we ensure that most of the things that are being supplied to these weddings are actually local? But even what kind of jobs are we actually creating? Okay? Are we creating jobs that are sustainable, or is just a few people who are getting this bonanza and actually being celebrated? So what is my call to action? My call to action is that we need, as Kenyans, to start actually asking questions like, are we just getting the money? Or is this money actually creating proper jobs? I've talked about, we need to look beyond the glitter. Looking beyond the glitter and saying, like, what are we celebrating? Yes, it was glamorous, what kind of money should we be celebrating? If money has been stolen, if you are a celebrity, you haven't stolen, but you know that your followers are struggling with basic things, do you think you're inspiring them? Or are you actually just creating resentment? And resentment is there because we are seeing a really big divide between the haves and have-nots. And now, just think about it. This is why a lot of people were actually opposed to the spectacle that was George Bezos' wedding. If you want the fashion, everything, the lowdown, you can check it out there on YouTube. I felt like it was not my point to do that, but I want us as Kenyans to start asking critical questions from such international or even local spectacles of what we call public consumption, conspicuous public consumption of wealth.